Right, welcome to the cockpit of the Cold and Dark Grob Tutor 115. Right hand seat, military operations, so there we go. We're in Golf Bravo Yankee Victor Foxtrot, which is one of my old planes. I used to fly this one down at Yeovilton. However, it's the only thing in the game that's even remotely similar to the Aquila 211, which is what I'm currently doing my PPL with. In terms of, we've got a propeller setting, we've got a mixture as well, which we don't have in the Aquila, but that's just one more thing, so it's good actually. It's even more complicated, which is a nice thing in some ways. So I'm going to try and run through the checklist and then get to the memory items and try and do those off by heart. So pre-flight needs to be complete, so that means basically having a walk around the aircraft, anything going on. So we're assuming we've done that, check the oil and so on. Passenger needs to be instructed. Hello, Mr. Passenger, there's no one there. Flight time counter, take a note, where is that? We don't have one in this plane. I don't think we have one in any flight simulator plane actually. Anyway, seats and all of that set. Parking brakes set. Flight controls, let's have a look, free and correct. So check the back. There's the rudder. Rudder's working too, well, that shouldn't be because we're on the ground. Right up and left up. Okay, so everything's working there, it's all free and correct. Throttle to idle. Carb heat off, that's alternate air in this one. Propeller to max RPM, lever friction adjust, so we could do that somewhere over here probably. Avionics master is off. That is that one there, off. Now we need to set standby attitude indicator, which we do have. Well, actually that's our main one, we need to be pulled to cage. Pitot static heat is off, so that's that one there, that's off. Alt 1 bat switch on, so that is bat. We need to look for engine. We need to put the gens on as well. Gen is an alternator generator, same thing. Alt 1 warning should also disappear eventually. So engine and Alt 1 should be showing low oil pressure there. Canopy is closed and locked. So now we get to starting engine checklist. So starting engine checklist, we put the anti-collision light on, so strobes to white. Fuel pump on. Fuel pressure needs to go into the green, so that's somewhere over here. Fuel pressure needs to be rising at least. I'm going to say that's only going to start going once we actually start the engine. So we've got a cold engine, so we're going to start idle with the choke on, which we don't have in this plane. Brakes are set, propeller area clear left, clear ahead, and yeah, you're not in the way, clear to the right. So ignition's going to start, so that's going to be over to both and start. But first, what was missing? There, fuel cut off. We don't have that in the Aquila. I'm doing a different checklist for the wrong plane, basically. Right, so oil pressure now, fuel pressure is now rising. Oil pressure is already in the green. Oil temperature still low for now. Alt 1 and 2 should go off. Fuel pump can now go off. Exterior lights now as required, so we're going to do strobes to red. And then moving on to the before taxi checklist. So we need to do the engine warm up, which means we need to get the oil temperature in the green. So you set 800 RPM for 2 minutes. Avionics master goes on now. Avionics are set as required, so let me set the altitude there. We're going to set squawk 7000. That's on standby at the moment, that's good. Runway heading is 190, so we're going to set that there. That's 190 degrees set. So that's our flight instruments. Flight instruments wise, pitch displays, no pitch, no bank, wings are level. The altitude is displaying the airport elevation of 900 feet at the local QNH of apparently 1030. Vertical speeds at 0. Heading is aligned. We've got a nav flag, that's because we're not tuned to anything. But we're displaying roughly north, which roughly aligns up with the deviation on this magnetic heading thing here. No, not displaying any turn. Engine instruments are okay, and the airspeed showing 0 at a speed of 0 knots. Coming over to the engine instruments, cylinder head temperatures in the green. Fuel pressure is still low, which is a little bit concerning actually. Amps and volts. We've got negative amps. Why have we got negative amps? What have I missed? Let's check something. I'm going to check this now. So pre-flight passenger parking brake propeller clear, bat gen, avionics off, pitot heat on, check it's working, and then off. Nav lights on, alternate static is in, instruments condition, CWB check. We've got negative amps, bad. RPM lever set high, trim takeoff, fuel selector both, fuel cut off open. Okay, we did that. Strobe was on, canopy closed and locked, ignition off, fuel pump on 5 seconds and then off. Throttle closed, then half open, propeller area clear. Ignition both, push, capture out. Yeah. There we go, we need to set a higher RPM. Ammeter, is it now positive? Vaguely, just positive. GPS set as required. Transponder test. And then standby. Good. Attitude indicators are fine. We've got this cross check, no flags. We've got the flag for GPS, so we'll switch over to GPS and we'll be okay. DME selector's fine. Flaps, we need to do flaps tech. Okay. Flaps okay. On the trim test as well, but that's not going to be visible in the plane because you can't actually see the stick going forwards or backwards. So it just keeps trim to take off. And we're going to do the engine run up now. So now that the oil temperature just about green, we'll give it another minute. Oil pressure's okay, volts are in the positive in the green, and the amps are just about charging. We've got left and right fuel is okay. Fuel pressure's a bit low if we put the fuel pump on though. Yeah, that's fine there. It's not demanding enough fuel. We're not idling hard enough basically. Let's call oil pressure okay. So we're going to set 2000 RPM in this and 1700 in the other plane. Parking brake set. Set 2000. Okay, now we're going to check the ignition, so we're going to go from both to left, note the drop, back to both, stabilised, back to right, note the drop, and back to both. Stabilised. Propeller lever 3 times, down to 1500, 250 in the Aquila. Okay, that's okay. Alternate there, in, note the RPM drop, and then throttle to idle. The engine should stay running. Treating that like carb heat. There we go, the engine stays running, carb heat back in, ready for taxi. Taxi checklist, clear left, clear ahead, clear right. Let's go. Flap set to take off, trim is set to take off. Rolling, check brakes. Brakes okay. Directional control, the HSI is moving with the plane, and the flight instruments are looking sensible. Before we'll take off. All the circuit breakers are in. Parking brake, we're not going to set that. Canopy is closed and locked. We're selected to both tanks, so we don't need to worry about full tank. Fuel pressure is not green yet. Fuel pressure is green at 1200 RPM. Note that might be causing an engine problem, we don't know though. We just don't know these things. Flight controls are free, we checked that already. Okay. Line up, check entering an active runway. Left side clear, right side clear. Transponder to Alt. Landing light on. We're going to go left and backtrack, identify runway 19 and then take off. The identification might be difficult because we are, well, going to take the extended threshold. So I've declared a safe altitude, minimum safe for Lugano due to the lake is 1900, 1000 above. Below safe altitude, if you have an engine out, we'll ditch into the lake unfortunately because there's mountainous terrain either side, you can see that there. And lots of residential areas and nowhere else to go, so it will be a water landing which will be nasty, and the plane will die. If we have an engine out above the safety altitude, we'll turn back and come to the airport. There you go, that's 19, we could identify that upside down I suppose. We're going to take the full centre line, and not centre line, the extended threshold. And we're set up to go, we've got the landing light on. Only thing left to do is turn around. Fuel check to the fuller tank, that's fine. Trim set for takeoff, parking brake is released. Propellers high, BPM is set. I got landing light on, fuel pump on. Transponders into altitude already, let's go. Right rudder. Set the line. Set the line. Rotate at 60 knots and hold it as VX until minimum safe, or safe altitude. So 60 knots, let's start rotating. Go and hold 60, it's 10 degrees up roughly. Try and hold the centre line. This thing needs a lot of right rudder, as most props do. We're going to get to 1900 is our safety altitude, so let's aim for that. You can see actually there we are, going above the airport now. There we go, we're on the runway centre line that I programmed in there. Keep 60 knots. Okay, there's 1500, I'm going to make a slight right turn. Keep climbing at 60. Still keeping 60 knots. We're no longer on the runway centre line, by design I suppose. Just trying to fly the plane a bit now. There's 900, I'm going to bring back one manifold pressure, bring the prop into the green. Okay, safety altitude, we can bring flaps up and fuel pump off. Landing light off too. But alas, what's this? The engine decided to turn off, right, okay. Nose down, 60 knots. Aiming for 78, we're going to turn back for the airport. The airport's behind us there. Straight into the left turn, that's why I did the cheeky little right turn. I kind of set myself up for success. That's half of the point, setting yourself up for success. Going to kind of keep 60 to 70 knots. There we go, we've got 4 whites on the Pappy, so we can try and glide in. The engine's not working anymore, so we can actually cut off. Okay, try and keep 60 knots. Yeah, we can actually go a little bit more pitch up. 60 knots. Okay, landing's assured, flaps 1. We've got 2 flap settings before landing in the Grob. We're still going to hold 60 knots though, so keep the nose down. We've got space for it though. I can see my aiming point is pretty much on the numbers. Okay, landing is assured, flaps 2. Okay, the runway's swelling up. Touchdown. And if we're good, we can actually exit the runway before losing the engine completely. Bit crazy, but nah, realistically we wouldn't do that. Don't want to yeet the plane off the runway after saving it from otherwise certain death, only to then throw it into a field and break the nose wheel or something. There we go. What was that? We managed to an engine out landing to Lugano from a safety altitude of way too high actually, but actually that's a pretty good safety altitude given the terrain and the lake and the possibilities ahead. In Innsbruck we take 500 feet because you can just about get past the city into some fields. There's not really that possibility here, so I'm deciding for 1,000. There we go. 16 minutes of nonsense. I suppose emergency engine out procedures.